The objective of this demo will cover how to add the SQL Performance Investigator extension to a previously created Foglight SQL Server agent. The process has some minimum requirements. Please review the prerequisites and requirements as a setup reference. Also consult the Foglight docs mentioned below. To add the SQL PI extension, log into the Foglight Web Console with your Foglight user, and click on Databases to access the Databases dashboard. Checkbox the agent or agents for adding the extension to, as this process can assign the feature to multiple agents simultaneously. These selected agents should not have the PI indicator listed under Monitoring Status Powered By. Keep in mind, selecting multiple agents will get assigned to the same PI repository. Click Settings and Administration. Find the SQL Performance Investigator and select it to enter the PI admin screen. The SQL Performance Investigator administration screen allows enabling and disabling the SQL PI extension for the SQL Server agents. There are some requirements to adhere to listed in the sizing guide. If the unlicensed notice is showing, that means there is a need to obtain at least a trial key for this SQL PI extension add-on. Licensing information and the listing of key features are also included and accessible from the screen. I will finish conducting setting up the SQL PI extension on a Foglight management server licensed to add the SQL PI feature. Following the same track to land back on the SQL Performance Investigator administration screen, note the unlicensed banner indication is not present. Moving along with the process, first, the repository needs assigning for each agent. The repository host can facilitate up to 100 agents based on the deployment needs and/or supported hardware sizing. Assigning offers flexibility to add or section agents to the same or different PI repository host. Click Assign SPI repository. The SQL PI screen displays the agent managers reporting into the Foglight management server. There are candidates for hosting PI repositories to assign to agents. These hosts have already been identified, fulfilling some minimum requirements, such as supported OS, Windows 64-bit. Note the other suggested requirements and recommendations. The pick list arranges the agent managers by name, OS, and SPI repository existing status, denoted by a green check mark or not. If selected, the hosted PI repositories that exist will just link the agent to the repository for its data storage. Otherwise, selecting the PI repository that doesn't exist on the host, showing no check mark, the process will ultimately create the PI repository database, then link the agent to it. The created PI repository currently will be a unified Postgres database. Select the agent manager. I will choose one that doesn't have a PI repository to demonstrate the process taking place for that selection. Click Apply, and the procedure will verify the system resources. If the resources don't check out, another indication will pop up with some options. Upon successful completion, the process will assign the SQL PI repository host to all the selected agents listed on the screen, but only enabling PI to the first selected agent. To enable SQL PI on the remaining agents, checkbox the agent and click Enable SQL PI. Click Apply to accept the highlighted host. Changing the SQL repository in this step will override the original repository selection for the agents, in which is an option if that is the desire. Once the verification is done, the SQL PI indicator is active for the agent. Click Save Changes, and the commenting dialog box pops up with a section to add comments about the installation. Consult the little I for more information on where to locate the comments after the setup has completed. Also, there's an option to not show this pop-up again. Click OK. The configuration starts within the process, setting up the PI repository and applying the modified settings to the selected agent. SQL PI is now active on the selected agents while listing its PI repository hosts. The PI feature is also reflected on the database's dashboards. Under Monitoring, Powered By should illuminate the green SQL PI indicator. The agents, since now containing the SQL PI add-on, will also be referenced in the database's SQL PI dashboards.